Welcome to Radio 64. Welcome to Radio 64 Video Game Music Remix Radio. I'm your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. Radio 64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile network. Visit radiomeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. Share your thoughts on this episode and request music by following the show on Facebook or Twitter at Radio64Pod. And please rate, subscribe, and share this show on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We opened the show with the song Stormbringer by DusK from ocremix.org from the game Guild Wars 2. We've played tracks by DusK before. He always brings in this playful, heavy rock sound, and it looks like over on Overclocked Remix, he's kind of got the monopoly on the Guild Wars 2 remixes, because we've also played one of his in our Christmas episodes, his Guild Wars 2 Christmas track. But for this one, it just sounds like a classic battle theme to an RPG. Guild Wars 2 is a game I haven't played, but I've read a lot about because I was looking for an MMO at the time, and I almost picked Guild Wars 2, especially when it went free to play. Something about it just didn't click with me. I guess I just don't click with MMOs in general. Unless it's the original World of Warcraft, I haven't really been able to get into an MMO. What I like about this, I could say this because I don't think we actually have any Final Fantasy tracks on this episode. This reminds me of more of the Super Nintendo battle music from Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy IV. It kind of has that 16-bit era of Nobuo Uematsu. I like how aggressive DusK guitar is. throughout this. I love the inclusion of the strings in the piano, playing around with it. I think it's just a really cool sound and a pretty energetic way to start the show. So again, that was Stormbringer by DusK from ocremix.org from the game Guild Wars 2. Up next is a track from Xenogears. And the title says it all. This is an ominous waltz. It's a bit light orchestral music, a lot of piano and strings again, but the waltz sound in it is just discerning. I think I said on another podcast, I think it was on an episode of Is It Classic, Does It Rock, that I kind of thought that the waltz is the music of the mad, that when you are showing somebody going a little bit crazy, the waltz is one of the perfect types of music to show dissent. Even with those lighter, prettier instruments like this, like the harp in here, there's still something a little bit dark and eerie about this. So this is Ominous Waltz by SoundSync from ocremix.org from the game Xenogears. That was Ominous Waltz by SoundSync from ocremix.org from the game Xenogears. Spooky. That was the Premonition track that was originally in Xenogears by Yasunori Mitsuda. It's a pretty piece, but again, a little bit eerie. Up next is a funky Mario track. The track is originally from Super Mario 3D Land, which I haven't played, but I can just... most Mario music, you can hear the Mario source throughout it all. If you've only played one Mario game, I would surmise that you would recognize most Mario music as Mario music. We have the track 2D Beat, but this is the DJ mix. So there is an album called Super Cartography Brothers, which is a fantastic electronica dance album of Super Mario Brothers music. And for a lot of them, they have two versions. They have the one mix, and then they have a DJ mix or a dance mix. So you kind of get an alternative take of the same mix. So I've chosen the 2D Beat DJ mix, which is album specific. So definitely go check out Super Cartography Brothers. Most of this song is just a happy boppy piece of chiptune music, but then also there's some pretty aggressive dubstep in here. I mean, the song opens, this mix specifically opens with that aggressive dubstep. But even with that, it's just a fun Bobby Mario piece. So this is 2D Beat DJ mix by Arceace from Super Cartography Brothers from the game Super Mario 3D Land. That was 2D Beat DJ Mix by Arceace from Super Cartography Brothers from the game Super Mario 3D Land. Up next is also an album piece. I haven't played 7th Saga. There's not much I can say about it, but there is an album called 7 Songs for 7th Saga, which is pretty funny. All the tracks here are arranged and performed on the cello by Sebastian Frege, who goes by AeroZ as well on OCR. This is the second track on the album. It is called 7 Songs for 7th Saga 2, Water, and it's just a really lovely cello piece. Without being able to say too much about 7th Saga, or be able to comment on a solo cello piece, really, let's just get to it. This is 7 Songs for 7th Saga 2, Water, by Sebastian AeroZ Frege from the album 7 Songs for 7th Saga from the game 7th Saga. That was 7 Songs for 7th Saga 2, Water, by AeroZ from ocremix.org from the game The 7th Saga. And definitely check out the rest of the tracks. 7 Songs for 7th Saga, a Super NES JRPG, I believe, from 1993. I wonder how I haven't really gotten into that. I'm going to have to look that up and see how accessible it is. Up next is a pretty goofy song. This is a track that I've enjoyed for a long, long time, but I have no connection to the source material, the Dizzy the Adventure games. What is he? He's an egg? Is that it? He's an egg with a sword sometimes? These are all like PC games, sometimes on the NES. I don't know anything about Dizzy the Adventurer. I know that the original soundtrack was by Lyndon Sharp, and I know that this mix is remixing the title track. It's called Mix Dizz by Makke, and it's just a really funny story of Dizz going on his adventure. And the chorus is just this real fun, kind of retro, maybe this like 1950s style of singing to tell this story. It's just a very fun pop rock piece with silly lyrics. So this is Mix Dizz by Makke from ocremix.org from the game Dizzy the Adventurer.
searching for Pokey their pet when they discovered the secret way to ancestral castle, which was quite cliche. But Dizzy and his girlfriend Daisy decided to go and have a look in the tower with a spinning thing, which when Daisy falls asleep after getting a little sting. Dizzy and Daisy sitting together in the tree, but how were they supposed to know what their evil wizard's crystal showed? Dizzy and Daisy totally oblivious to what will be. How were they supposed to know? Soon they'll call by bones the evil one. Days will take you to dungeons far below, and the adventure could begin. How will it end? Will Dizzy and Daisy win? Well, how am I supposed to know? I never even ever played this game before. I just like the music and made a little remix, which when everyone's mind will stick. Well, probably not though. I'd be surprised if anyone listens to this. Yeah, well, here we go. Dizzy and Daisy sitting together in a tree, but how were they supposed to know what the evil wizard's crystal showed? Dizzy and Daisy totally oblivious to what will be. How were they supposed to know? Soon they'll be caught by bones the evil troll. Oh boys, evil troll, get on that trolley on the ride on. Dizzy and Daisy totally oblivious to what will be. How were they supposed to know?
That was Mixed Dizz by Makke from OC Remix from the game Dizzy the Adventurer. I like the last chorus because it's how I feel too. Well, how am I supposed to know? I never ever played this game before. I just like the music. That's how I am with most remixes, really. And the last part where he says, and I made a little remix which in everyone's mind will stick. Well, probably not though. I'll be surprised if anyone listens to this. Here we go. I love it. As a podcaster, you know, you kind of feel that way sometimes too. It's like, oh man, that's such a great point. That's such a deep conversation. That's something. I can't wait till everyone listens to it. Well, actually, no, I'll be surprised if anyone listens to it. Oh well, I'll do the podcast anyway. It's just, I relate to Makke here with this song. But again, this was just a fun track. Mixed Dizz by Makke from ocremix.org from the game Dizzy the Adventurer. He's an egg. Right? He's just an egg going on an adventure. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. For the PC. I think I played this game on the PC, but I think I only played it on multiplayer with a friend, and I don't think I knew what I was doing. Every time I tried a Rainbow Six game, I just didn't understand it. And every time I went over a specific friend's house and he had a bunch of PCs connected, they were all him and his neighborhood friends who had played more. They would know exactly what they were doing in whatever game this was, and I would have no clue. So I would just be absolutely demolished. No good. Yeah, I've got a weird history with the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six games. I liked the book, Rainbow Six, when I first read it. Kind of got me back into reading it in a way. But this is kind of a quieter, gentler piece with a lot of piano in here, but there's also a kind of repeating bump, 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 bump that reminds me a lot of Tina Turner's GoldenEye song. Considering the title and the game that it's from, it's not this big, sweeping, orchestral piece. It's not this intense song. It's quieter. It's more about stealthing, almost peaceful stealthing. So this is Mystery of a Planet by Jared Hudson from ocremix.org from the game Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. That was Mystery of a Planet by Jared Hudson from ocremix.org from the game Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. Yeah, after my friend had me play whatever Rainbow Six game it was, I don't think he ever had me play a Rainbow Six game again. Still kind of forced Counter-Strike on me, which I was also lost. Until I had GoldenEye 64 in my hands, I could not play first-person shooters on either PC or console. As soon as I could play GoldenEye 64, I was like, oh, I get it. It's first person. All right, this song is going to come with a disclaimer, because when I first picked it, I thought I was going to be fine about it. I thought this could have been put on a Halloween episode, but I was like, you know what? It doesn't really have a Halloween vibe to it. It's not really spooky. It's fine. It's its own type of track. We're gonna play it on a normal episode, and we won't need it for a Halloween thing. But the more I've listened to it, preparing for this show, the more I've realized, yes, this is a Halloween track, and it should end up on a Halloween episode. So while I'm not going to put it on 2020's Halloween episode, I do reserve the right to put this track on a future Halloween episode if I'm running low on tracks. Because, as I said, the more I listened to it, the more I was like, there's a little bit of Stranger Things in here. That 80s synth is so delicious. I gotta tell you, I've played some tracks on this show that have an 80s sound, and this one, it just takes the cake. It's so good. Yeah, it is spooky. It is a spooky, suspenseful Halloween track, and I'm playing it now, and I regret the decision, but when a track list is made, I can't go back on it. I've already listened to it. Anyway, it's just a cool piece of music, this thing. So this is called 80s Ate My Neighbor by Mike Novak and Fernito from ocremix.org from the game Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That was 80s Ate My Zombies by Mike Novak and Fernito from OCRemix.org from the game Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I mean, I know it's a Zombies Ate My Neighbors game track. I know that when I picked it, but I just, when I listened to it, I'm like, oh, it's not spooky. But now I love it, and it's going to be on one. So again, not next episode, not Radio 64's Halloween Special 2, but maybe 3 or 4. We'll see. We'll see how far I can go. Our next track is from Metroid 2, Return of Samus, which was the Game Boy game, which I've never played, even though they recently remade it on the 3DS. But I don't have a 3DS, so, well, I do have a 2DS somewhere. Not the point. Metroid 2, The Return of Samus. Kind of a relaxing world music piece here. Very ambient piano, but also dripping sounds of water. You can kind of see these drippy hallways with overgrowth plants throughout them as you're listening to this, getting that catacomb sound that you get when you play a Metroid game. This is Unnamed Frontier by Pyro Paper Planes and Viking Guitar from OCRemix.org from the game Metroid 2 Return of Samus. That was The Unnamed Frontier by Pyro Paper Planes and Viking Guitar from ocremix.org from the game Metroid 2, Return of Samus. I like that understated guitar. It kind of blends into the background like it's just another part of the atmosphere. You know, if I played more games on the DS or the 3DS, I would want to play Return of Samus. Out of the early Metroid games, it's just one I haven't played. I love Super Metroid. I enjoyed the original Metroid on the NES. I did not... And it's funny because Metroid 2 is, like, canonically important because... Isn't Return of Samus the one where you get the baby Metroid that plays a huge part in the Super Nintendo game? Story-wise, just having this little side game on the Game Boy, if Link's Awakening was the one Zelda game that connected everything together, but it was only on the original Game Boy. Now we've got something completely different, a disco funk piece with more soul than any of us have. This is something... so unique and so ridiculous. There's nothing but skill on display here, but it's also just as goofy as they come. This is from the 3D Pinball Space Cadet game, which you got for free on Windows 95, right? Gosh, I loved Space Cadet Pinball on the PC. I played so much of that. I remember I had an 8 million score, and I was so excited, and then it somehow disappeared from the score, and I was just so upset, and I never topped it again. But I mean, they just gave it away for free, considering how much time I played Space Cadet Pinball. You take that, and at the time on my PC, you have like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Age of Empires, and it's just like all you need is this PC. But yeah, Space Cadet Pinball, it's so cool. The music was fun, the table design was cool. It just had a lot going on for this free pinball game. But this takes the music that you have in Space Cadet, the title track that's only called Pinball by Matt Ridgway. Yeah, it turns it into this funky disco piece that the lyrics are fun, they're commanding. Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy are mentioned, which is hilarious. Telling you how to dance, but really they're about piloting your ship. There's just so much going on this, and it's just ridiculous that one person put this track together. So this is Interstellar Suzuki Forever? No, Interstellar Suzuki Fever? Maybe? Look, there's a lot of fives in the title. Interstellar, I think Suzuki Fever, but I could be very wrong, by UV Sir J from ocremix.org from the game 3D Pinball Space Cadet.
I said a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away. Gather around all my little comments. I'm gonna tell you about the universe. There's nebula, black holes, supernovas. So, you better hop on the Enterprise. Better hop on the Enterprise. I said you better hop on the Enterprise. Cowboy Bebop space standing up in his mother father. To the right, bring it up above. We gon' boogie all night. Shift to the left, barrel roll to the right. Barrel roll to the right, bring it up above. We gon' bring it up above. We gon' boogie all night. Gon' boogie all night. Shake it to the left, barrel roll to the right. Barrel roll to the right, bring it up above. We gon' boogie all night. Boogie all night. Shake it to the left, barrel roll to the right. Bring it up above.
And that's why I think I'd be a perfect candidate for Star Labs.
That was Interstellar Suzuki Fever by UV Sir J from ocremix.org from the game 3D Pinball Space Cadet. A lot of double meanings or entendres. One of those things that, like, if you listen to it, you might not connect it, but when you read the lyrics, like, oh no, that exactly means that. It's just a BA funky piece. But you know what? As silly as a lot of these lyrics are, I was singing it after listening to this track when preparing for this episode. I was walking through the house singing these tracks, singing "Shake it to the left, shake it to the right." It's catchy. It's silly, but it's catchy. This track is interesting because the person who does the remix here, Instant Remedy, they stated that they put maybe 80 to 100 hours with this remix and experimenting with new techniques and FX sounds and whatnot. Instant Remedy has some remixes from like early 2000, but this was the first remix that happened in the past 10, 15 years. So they were talking about how they were trying to update their style, and you can hear it in this. Like, it is a polished piece of music. You know, there's no fat on here. It sounds great. The soundscape, synth effects, beach samples, it's just everything in here is done to almost a perfect level. Maybe Instant Remedy wouldn't like this, but when it opens, it almost reminds me of Die Young by Kesha, of all things. But if that's what they were going for, the sound that sounds like music from this era, I think they nailed it. But yeah, it sounds exactly like it's supposed to, with this EDM style that you could just turn up to 11 in a club. This is definitely something you can rave to. So this is IR Type by Instant Remedy. Oh, IR Type because of Instant Remedy. I just got that. I've been looking at it all week. IR Type by Instant Remedy from ocremix.org from the game R-Type.
Une grande flotte de combattants ont été envoyés pour arrêter les étrangers. Aucun d'entre eux n'est jamais retourné.
That was IR Type by Instant Remedy from ocremix.org from the game R-Type. A game I haven't played, but I have added onto my Steam wishlist because they've updated it. I think it's still supposed to be as hard as it ever has been, and you can switch between the original graphics and the more updated graphics. I haven't bought it yet, but I like to try it out. I hear lots of things. I participate in some forums where some people really like the harder retro games, so R-Type gets mentioned quite a bit. But without having played it, I can tell you I love this track. It's fantastic. It's going on my favorite playlist, and I'm going to listen to it quite a bit in the future. That is the show for today. So thank you for listening to Radio64 Video Game Music Remix Radio. I've been your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. Radio64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile network. Visit radiomeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. You can share your thoughts on this episode and request music by following the show on Facebook or Twitter at Radio64Pod, and please rate, subscribe, and share this show on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, or YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.